Okay, today we're gonna make jelly. I've already got my mise en place together. I did have to fix my jelly juice because somebody gave me a whole box full of scuppernons. And so I took those and I crushed them and I boiled them down, and this is the juice. And I needed 5 cups of juice. And again, mise en place means that we have everything set out. So let's talk about what I have set out. I have my pectin, my Sure-Jell, which is going to help it set. This is the Sure-Jell right here, and it is a plant product, so this will be a vegetarian jelly. I have my 7 cups of sugar. Now, if you want to do less sugar, they do make a less sugar Sure-Jell. It comes in a pink box, and there are instructions in the bag that tells you what to do. I have my towels set up over here for when I'm done. I have my canning equipment, which is a funnel, and my my jar grasper, my pot. I have my lids cooking or being sterilized in hot water, and then this is going to be my bath, my jelly bath here, and in here I have my jars. So they're being sterilized right now also. The other thing that I have out, which you'll see why it's important, is a bowl of water, and this is so I can wipe the rim down on my jelly. You also want to make sure that you use new lids. That's because don't ever use an old lid, and that is because this rubber here will seal when you put it in the hot water bath. And if you don't do that, it won't seal properly, and then of course your jelly will spoil. So my instructions tell me to take my juice and to put it into my pan and turn it up to high, and it says to go on and add in all of my pectin, but not my sugar. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn it on high. I'm going to add in my pectin, but I'm not going to add in my sugar. I'm going to stir this until it dissolves. And really, making jelly does not take very long, and you can do all kinds of fun things with it. Today I'm just going to do straight grape jelly, but when I'm at home, I will make grape jelly, or I'll make blueberry jam. I love making jams. I made some tomato jam this summer. I do pepper jellies, and I love adding stuff into it. So this summer I had some blackberries, and I added some ginger into it, and just basil and some different things, and oh, it just tasted so good. So, and the way that you do that is you think about what flavors do you like together. Like I've made, I call it caliente grape, which caliente is hot in Spanish. And so I'll take some jalapeno peppers and I'll cut them up real fine, and I'll cook that into my grape jelly. And so it still tastes like grape jelly, but it has a little bit of a bite to it. And so the way that you figure this out is think about what do you want your jelly to taste like, or your jam to taste like. And then you just start small, add a little bit. After you've added in your sugar and everything, taste it. Get a tasting spoon and taste it and see what you think about it. And you may say, oh, I'd like some more ginger in there, or maybe I want it a little bit hotter. And so you can do all kinds of things with your jellies and your jams, and it's just really a fun thing to do. Canning is a lot of fun, and as you've seen on the history slides that you did, canning has not been around that long, maybe a couple hundred years. Whereas when we talk about food preservation, people have been salting food for a long, long time. and maybe even freezing food. They realized that they could freeze it, but freezers of course didn't come around until electricity did, but people would pack things in ice, so that would keep it longer, because of course there's always a growing season, and then there is seasons where you cannot grow things, and so it makes it harder to have food. And so canning is very important. I can remember when I was a little girl, in the summer times, we would go up to West Virginia, and I would help my grandmother can. We'd make jellies, and we'd can green beans and corn, and she also made this wheat cereal. I don't know what it was called, but boy, we loved that stuff. And she would can up all kinds of things, tomatoes and everything, so they would have food for the rest of the year. Now, grocery stores make it very easy for us to not have to do those things. We can go and we can buy things that are already canned and frozen and prepared for us. But if you like cooking and you like having things be just a little bit different, it is a lot of fun to do this. It is. But now you have to be very, very careful. You need to be safe when you are canning. Everything has to be sterilized. You must be very, very clean, because botulism is a huge foodborne illness that you can get from improperly canned foods. Now, because this has high acidity and a lot of sugar, jellies and jams are often some of the easiest things to can, because they run a very low risk, but you still have to take precautions, which is why I have my jars sterilizing, my lids sterilizing, so that everything is nice and ready. Okay, I'm still waiting for this to come to a boil. And if you looked at remember, I had you look at the chemistry and the biology behind making jelly. And here's the deal. The pectin, the coils in it have to release. And then as they cool, those coils in the molecular structure begin to curl back up. And that's what causes the jelly to set and become jelly, because otherwise it's liquid. If you've ever had Jell-O before, like one of the things I used to love to do when I was a kid, when I had Jell-O, which, by the way, what's your favorite type of Jell-O? Mine is cherry. I love cherry Jell-O. But I can remember I loved to take it and put it in my mouth and swish it around until it became like Kool-Aid. And that was, that was so cool to me, to think how a solid could become a liquid. Well, we know that that is a physical transformation, and so that's one of those things that you talk about in science, the different types of matter, and if it's solid, is it liquid, is it a gas? So we're making this go from being a liquid into a solid, and we're doing that by adding pectin. Pectin is comes from apple skins, and usually it's the skins of different fruits and things. Now, do you have to add pectin into your jams and jellies? No, you don't. But here's what has to happen if you're going to do that. You have to cook it down for hours and hours and hours and hours. Like when I make fig jam, I don't put any pectin in it. And it takes hours for those figs to get to a point where they're gonna be more of a jelly type. And that's because the natural pectin that's in the fig has to get to that point, and you have to reduce your liquid some. So that's what you're doing when all of that happens. Okay, I'm trying to get this to come to a boil, and then I'm gonna add in here it goes. Okay. So my instructions tell me that once it comes to a boil, and a boil means that it is not, that when you stir it, it doesn't stop boiling or bubbling. which this is here. So now all at one time, I'm going to add all that sugar in. That's a lot of sugar, isn't it? And now I'm going to take and I'm going to stir this until it dissolves. And once it starts to boil again, I'm going to time it. And I will let it boil for 1 minute. And then it's ready. It's ready. It still looks liquidy, but it should be ready. And again, that's because I've put that pectin in here. Okay? All right. So I'm going to take a pause on the video, and then I'll turn it back on when we get to that point. Okay, we're back. My jelly has boiled for a minute and it is ready for me to start canning. And so that's what I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out these jars and I'm going to fill them with my extra one up there. I'm going to fill them with jelly, and then I'm going to put them back into that jar after I fill it up and can it, okay? So I'm just going to do one and show you what I'm going to do, and then we'll go from there. So I use my funnel. You know, I take my hot jar out, and I'm going to fill it full. I'm not going to fill it all the way to the top, though. You need to leave what's called head space, and that allows for the for the jar to seal properly. So I'm going to fill it up really to the bottom of the rim. That's kind of one of the reasons why those rims are there. There'll be a lot of jelly in here. There's some scum on it. Don't want to do that. Okay. All right, so I've put that there. I'm going to set this aside, and this is what this bowl of water is for. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to dip it in the water, and then I'm going to run it along the rim, and that's going to make sure that I've wiped off any of the excess, anything that's spilled on it. Now at this point I'm going to take my lid out of my sanitizer, and I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to seal it. Okay? When I get done with doing all of these jars, I'm going to put them back in here, and I'm going to let it boil for about 5 minutes. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I have my last jar of jelly, and it is going into the pot to have what we call a water bath. Now, because this is a high acid, high sugar, I don't have to cook it under pressure, but I need to boil it for 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to turn up my heat. It shouldn't take long for it to come up to a boil again, but when it starts to boil, I can start timing it for 5 minutes, and I'll go on and put the lid on it, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, welcome back. We're to our last segment, and they've been in, my jelly's been in this water bath for 5 minutes, so it's now safe to take them out. And if you listen carefully, you're going to hear a pop sound. I love listening for this little sound. See if you can hear it. I'm going to set these out on a towel, and in just a few minutes we should hear it start popping. Be really careful because of all how hot it is. Whoop, did you hear that? You hear that little tick? Oh, there went another one. So what that is it's the lids are sealing, and they're making sure that it is airtight in there. That way no bacteria can get in it. These can set up for a good year, 12 months to 18 months. So there it went again. I love that sound. These should be really pretty and really set up really nicely. And so, a lot of fun. I enjoy making jelly. What we're gonna do is we'll leave these sitting here overnight. I'll cover them with a towel. If you can see, this was some of the leftover that I had, and see, it's already started to gel. It's not liquidy anymore. A little bit, but not too much. So I'll just put that in the refrigerator. So I hope you've learned a lot about canning and making jellies. They're a lot of fun, and if you want to try it, go for it, because it's great memories, and it's fun being able to eat the food that you fixed and put up. So we will see you later. Bye.